Who are hustlers? Who are these people? Where do they come from?
They're people like you and me.
You think so?
I know so. I know people with morals and values and loves and hates.
Do you think in some way in life that everyone's a hustler in some way? I mean, in other words, if I went up to anybody and offered them a certain amount of money, as you say, everybody has their price. If I offered just anybody on the street a certain amount of money.
Everybody is a hustler.
You're saying money. If you offered them what they want. If you said, here is what you want, they'll bend over and kiss your feet.
In other words, everyone's a hustler.
Yes, everybody.
I'm John Scagliotti. Tonight, WBCN's Community Report presents Boys for Hire, a look into the world of male hustlers. Each night, thousands of young men sell their bodies for sex, for companionship, whatever, in trade for money. And it goes on right here in Boston. And tonight's program will give you a peek at what it's like being a hustler and being a man who procures the services of the boys. It will not be definitive. We won't be telling you about what state social services are helping these people. There aren't any anyway. The police won't be telling us what tactics they use in arresting these young people. They refuse to talk with us. Instead, we have opened our airways to the hustler and to the buyer in order to further understand this age-old custom that has been with us for hundreds of years. Rocky, what was the reason that you decided to become a hustler?
There was money in it.
Money? Well,
there was a way of supporting myself, and I was dealing with people. I'm able to deal with people.
What is it that you enjoy the most about hustling?
I like being for myself and not working for anybody else, not punching a time clock.
You like being a
freelance
business person.
A business person, yes.
And Jim, what made you decide to hustle when you did?
Most likely I was a dancer, and I've been around a lot of gay bars and everything. It made me know as a dancer. And I used to hustle on the side, for more money, just for the fun of it.
And what about you, Steve?
Well, I like my work.
You do like it?
Oh, yeah, I like it very much. I've met an awful lot of interesting people. The vast majority of people you meet are not going to, to be frank about it, you're not really going to care much one way or the other whether you ever meet them again or not.
Are there a lot of hustlers in Boston?
I think there are. There are a number of what I would call casual hustlers.
They don't do it every day, a couple of days a week or something like that?
Right. Only when a great need strikes them for something. But I'm sure that there's a fairly good number of people who just make their living totally by hustling, which means that they have to be present almost all the time.
Hustling can be a lucrative business for a young man. Have you made a lot of money hustling?
I've done fairly well. It keeps me living in a standard that I appreciate.
What is usually the going price nowadays for hustlers? What kind of money are people talking about?
It all varies. Everybody will try for the highest amount they think they can get. And before long, they'll find what price category they are really in out there. Some will find that they can...
It's different for individual hustlers, in other words.
Oh, yeah. It'll have to vary. Of course, it'll also have to vary upon how soon they need to make that money and under what circumstances, whether it's going to be in a car instead of a place. Mm-hmm. But some will find that they can never get beyond $10, and some will find that less than $20 or something like that would just be unthinkable.
So the average is somewhere between $10 and $20 for...
I would say for the most part. Some get more,
And how many times...
but some go for less.
And how many times does a hustler, how many Johns would a hustler have in one night, let's say?
Well, that again is going to depend an awful lot. If it's a person who's really approaching this professionally and realizes the more he can earn that night may be a good thing because of something he wants to purchase or because he isn't sure what will happen the next night, he'll keep going, probably meeting as many as 4, 5, 6, 7 people in a night.
What about you, Rocky? What's your...
Hustling to me is it's a very lucrative profession, and it can be done anywhere. It can be done through newspaper ads. It can be done on the street, at a bar. You can be passing somebody at work, and if you can look at this person, and by talking to this person, you can sum up what he wants, what he kind of person he is, then you make a good hustler.
I remember you.
And for many, it's fun, but there is also danger. Is it dangerous hustling?
Yes, it is. It can be.
Have you ever had a dangerous experience?
I have. Yes, I've had a gun held to my head. I got in someone's car and there was somebody in the back seat, and they held a gun to my head, and I promptly jumped out the window while the car was moving, and I got a little battered.
Why did the person? What was it? Just a robbery?
I have no idea what they wanted with me, but the man said to me, he said, "Don't move or I'll blow your head off." And I thought, well, if they're gonna take me somewhere and do something to me, then I might as well get it right here. So I jumped out the window.
You know, there are stories that sometimes hustlers get picked up by people who tie them up and beat them and things like that. That people are into that sort of kind of sexuality of some sort, rough sort of sexuality. Have you ever had any of those type of experiences?
No, I really haven't. I've been very fortunate that way, and I don't particularly care to get involved in any of what they call the S&M part of things. So usually I try to find that out about a person ahead of time, and if that's true, then I simply say, well, I don't think we're going to get along.
Jim, did you ever have a dangerous experience?
Yeah, most likely with the cops, you know, that's most likely a problem. You know, they come up to me and say, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know, and I don't like getting in trouble with the cops. Sometimes I carry, you know, legal weapon on me, like a knife, you know, because I go through a lot of walking at night in Boston, you know, and I almost got jumped one time, and, you know, so I'm going to put an end to it, you know.
You brought up the subject of the cops. Do the cops hassle you a lot while you hustle?
Me?
Yeah, for everyone. I mean, is it a hard scene with the police?
Cops do hassle you a lot, yeah. Only before they've taken my grass and ask me if it's good grass, and hey, you got any papers? And they're going in the alley smoking it, as far as I'm concerned. And they'll be very wise and very fresh and treat you like your general dirt.
The cops treat you like your general dirt?
Yeah.
Why do you think the cops treat you like that?
Generally, I think they do it because they really don't care. Society's attitude towards prostitutes and then towards gay people. I mean, society's attitude towards prostitutes is bad enough, but if you put being gay on top of it, you're really on the bottom.
And you think the police are just prejudiced?
Severely, and they're also like an ignorant animal. When they don't know, they fear. They may also fear.
Do you think
what they do not know?
Yeah. Do you think hustling should be legal?
Yes, I think it should be, because, you know, it's really no big thing, you know. I think you should be allowed to sell yourself if you want to sell yourself.
What about you, Ron?
I think our society would be a lot more free. There would be a lot less rape and sexual crimes if hustling were legal. And there was some sort of a union where you were checked, and for anybody to hustle, they would have some sort of a system where they are counted, and if they steal from somebody, then they can be reported because they have a number, or they have some sort of a classification.
Sort of like a taxi system. I mean, when you're in a taxi, you take the taxi's number, or police, you take the police badge number.
Yeah.
And for hustlers, it would have a number, and if you had a bad problem with a hustler,
you would take it to them, and he would be gone. Then it would be against the law for him, and then it would be his fault.
With the common cold still being the most common communicable disease, what do you suppose is number 2? It's gonorrhea. When I got back home, I had that ugly day.
Do most hustlers check themselves? I mean, are they aware of the possibility that they could easily get venereal disease?
Most likely not, because, you know, you never know if you got crabs or lice, scabies, you know, whatever you catch, you know, VD, you know, but it's all considered really unclean.
Hustling is sort of Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, money-wise, that is. And a lot of them will get the crabs or they'll get scabies. And they'll know it, and they'll go along with it for 2 or 3 days when they don't have any money and have made no money because the cops are hassling them or because they just can't make any money. It's no good out there at the moment. And
So they'll let a disease go on for a few days.
So they'll let it go on. Some of them will just let it go on, and they're dirty and they don't care. Personally, I try to check everybody I'm with. I like clean people. I like them to be basically intelligent and friendly before. But disease really can run rampant. A lot of people don't care. I've seen a lot that just don't care.
What are your modes of operation? How do you work out who you're going to
How do I hustle?
Yeah, how do you hustle?
Sometimes I hustle in the street, but most of the time I hustle off the street,
What does it mean to hustle off the street?
like in clubs, you know, clean bars where it's much safer to hustle, you know, calling the guys. I used to be called up, or I would call them up, you know, or they would call me up. That way I wouldn't be out in the street and they wouldn't have to chase after me and get stopped by the police.
What do you think are the most common forms of hustling in Boston?
Well, definitely out in the street. I think that's where most of them make their initial contacts. If they get along well, then there's a transfer of phone numbers from one to the other and so forth, and that private clientele is kind of built up. I think most people have to start in the street.
And what is the most demanded type of hustler in our city?
A person who looks young, dresses well, and doesn't really have, I would say looks mostly masculine, probably has just a slight touch of something soft or slightly feminine about the appearance, because then people can feel more comfortable approaching him. He looks like a man, you know, or a very young man in some cases, but he also looks approachable because of that slight softness about his appearance at some point. I find people who are very, very masculine looking, very muscular and so forth, they're more likely probably to end up being just sexual fantasy objects, and probably don't have an awful lot of repeat business anyway. And people who are extremely feminine, well, as the expression goes, they usually turn off the majority of the guys out there looking for something.
So it's that in-between kind of look that is the more...
I'd say, generally speaking, hustling in general is kind of, it's, as I said before, it's a nebulous thing, and everything associated with it has to have a certain amount of almost like amorphous quality to it or something like that. Nothing too strongly definite in any direction.
Is there a lot of competition among hustlers?
Yes, I think so.
And
some are just understood to do better than others.
Well, at last. About time. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harold. Happy birthday to you. Phil, Lenny. Who the hell are you?
She's Harold's present for me, and she's early. And that's not even Harold, you idiot.
Well, you said whoever answered the door.
But not until midnight. He's supposed to be a midnight cowboy.
He is a midnight cowboy. He looks like a William Inge player, man.
Not until midnight, and you're supposed to sing to the right person, for Christ's sake.
Hey, look, Emmy, I forgot. And besides, I want to get to the bars by midnight. Oh, he's a class act all the way around.
What do you mean get to the bar? Sweetie, I paid you for the whole evening, remember?
Well, I hurt my back too much.
what type of people look for hustlers?
Gee, people from all kinds of situations. There are those who are afraid to go to the bars. There are those who have been, have not made out, and feel that they have a lot more security picking somebody else up in the block because by trading some money, they are supposed to be getting back in return as part of the trade almost an exact idea of what they can have and do.
A fantasy that they might have. A sexual fantasy of some sort?
Yeah, it might be a sexual fantasy of some sort, or some simply may just want regular old sex that could take place between two guys or something like that, but they find that if they do pick somebody up out of the bar, that's not what they get.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a guarantee of, you know, a far better feeling that you're going to get what you want by picking up this person than if you take the chances elsewhere.
Is it mostly older men who do the hustling? I mean, who go out and try to procure hustlers?
Oh, for the most part. You'll get them all age groups and so forth, but most of them are usually middle-aged, and some getting older, sure.
W.H. Auden.
It soothes adolescence a lot to meet so shameless a stare. The things I did could not be as shocking as they said, if that could still be there after the shocked were dead. Now I'm ready to die, but already at the stage when one starts to resent the young. I am glad those points in the sky may also be counted among the creatures of middle age. It's cozier thinking of night as more an old people's home than the shed for a faultless machine. That the red Precambrian light is gone like imperial Rome, or myself at 17.
Walt is a married man. He has 3 children and pays for male hustlers. And he thinks there's a healthy relationship between older men and the young boys they buy.
Many of the people that I know, they seek, you can't call it a father image in an older man, but they certainly look to identify with someone who has some degree of achievement in the so-called straight or normal world. They look to an individual who has some sort of professional competence, who has achieved status and recognition, and is recognized by society as a viable and contributing individual in the context of, quote, normal society.
Would you call it more like a big brother of some sort?
I think there certainly is that aspect of it. Yes, definitely.
What is the relationship between a John and a hustler? Is it just financial?
I would say for the most part, yes, because the average hustler out there is just trying to get some money either to pay his rent, which he may or may not do anyway, or just to go to the bars and enjoy himself. And to him, this is just a means to obtain something for what he really wants to do that evening, like go to a bar and have a few drinks and so forth, and meet somebody else his own age or something like that. So for most of them, it's pretty much kind of like, I need this for a purpose, but I really don't care one way or the other. Some will develop some kind of an association with some of the people they've met out there. But that, again, is, of course, a simple matter of how 2 people who meet, regardless of the circumstances, can get along.
Walt believes that hustlers are not manipulated by older men into performing sexual acts. In fact, the hustler knows very well what's going on.
It's one of the most individualized arrangements that I know of. It's totally at the discretion of the individuals involved. Nobody requires that you pick up an individual, and nobody requires that you go out with them after you do pick them up. It's purely, if you pick up someone and you don't find that you're compatible in a brief interrogation on the parts of both parties involved, because they interrogate just as much as the person who does the picking up. And if the vibes aren't good between the 2 people, then generally we part company with see you later.
Now, some people would say, oh boy, they're so young that they really don't know, and they're being manipulated by older people. Do you feel that you've been manipulated by older people?
Well, not me, because, at the age of 17, I was well aware what I was doing. I'm well aware at all times.
I was only 13 when...
Have you found having sex with young people who you're paying for, do you think they enjoy it?
Oh, yes.
You don't think they're just doing it for the work? You think they actually enjoy it?
Oh, no.
What gives you that feeling?
The physiological response.
They actually dig it.
Oh, yes, in 98% of the instances.
Do you enjoy the sexual aspect of hustling?
Sometimes I do. It depends on the person I'm with. I find about 25% of the time I really enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it to the point where it turns me on.
While hustlers are sometimes in danger, so are the men who buy them. Many years ago, Walt was arrested and convicted for writing homosexual love letters. It seems the government thought the letters were obscene, and it's a crime to use the U.S. Postal Service to mail pornography. While Walt was on probation, he had an affair with a younger man. The cousin of this man said he would tell the police unless Walt paid blackmail.
In order to stay out of federal prison and not violate federal probation, I paid blackmail for about 4 years, several thousands of dollars. When I was off federal probation, I stopped paying. And then civil prosecution was brought against me. And the civil prosecution that was brought against me was literally finally thrown out of court. But there was direct collusion between the state police, in this particular instance, the investigator, and this young man who, in a sense, was used to entrap me.
Looking for a chicken, can't find none.
As I said earlier, Walt is a father of a teenage boy, and I asked him this question. How would you feel if, let's say, your 17-year-old son if you found out that your 17-year-old son was having a relationship with an older man who was paying for him, and you found that out? How would you feel?
My feeling is that I would hope that the individual that my son would be seeing would be as considerate of the boy as I would be of someone else's son. And I wouldn't condemn the boy for it at all. No way.
But you'd be concerned?
I wouldn't be concerned in a detrimental aspect of the thing. My only concern is that the relationship was a healthy one and a productive one.
I'm looking for a boy tonight. I know to some of you out there it may not seem quite right, but I am not the only one to know your own sex can be fun. That's why I'm looking for a boy tonight.
And finally, what does the future hold for a hustler? Here's Rocky.
Do you find a lot of hustlers have a lot of dreams of their futures and what they hope to be?
Oh, yeah. I know.
What do they fantasize? What do they hope to be? Mostly, they all want to get good jobs.
Oh, yeah, they do. They want to get, basically, they want to get some sort of good piece of the cake, and you know, they're just like you and me. You want a piece of the cake, well, so does the hustler. But that's what they know how to do, and that's what they've been doing for so long that they have to go on doing it. And a lot of them, I'd say, don't end up getting that piece of the cake because they can't deal with reality. Hustling is not reality. Hustling is something you cannot do for the rest of your life. And a lot of them can't deal with that.
Sooner or later they get older.
Sooner or later they get older, and like I said, you tend to see them down there smoking cigarettes, leering at the children.
You've been listening to Boys for Hire, a look into the world of male hustlers. Tonight's community report was pre-recorded and produced by John Scagliotti for WBCN's News and Public Affairs Department. If you would like a copy of tonight's program, write Copies, care of WBCN, Prudential Tower, Boston 02199.
Thank you, John. You're listening to WBCN. We're in Boston. I'm John, down the way where the nights are gay. Brody, I'll be around till 6 in the morning doing stuff, playing records. A lot of new stuff. I've been away for a week, but I am back from the sunny south, and it's a good thing that you cannot see my tan because you would probably crack up a little bit earlier than you probably will anyway. It's snowing outside, and finally got lucky. The plane did not crash, lost one engine, and it took a while longer to get down to South America, but seemed to be the only place in the United States, continental style. And even some of the islands, it was snowing in the Bahamas this last week. It was a miserable week for all those poor people who went to Florida. I almost went to Disney World, and at the last minute changed my reservation for another 1,000 miles south, and I'm glad I did, because I get mad when it snows on my vacation. In the event, till 6 o'clock, here's Hall & Oates.